Hi everybody, welcome to the Actors Academy. Thank you all for tuning in. Today we're going to be talking about how to start and end your audition for Marvel, Netflix, Disney, or whatever project you are auditioning for. This was a question that was asked of me the other day, and the question was specifically asking how to end the audition. I want to do a two-way part, which is not just how to end the audition, but also how to start the audition, because that's also just as important. If you start an audition and you're doing really well, but you end poorly, that can affect your chances of getting booked for the part, and vice versa. If you don't start very well, but you end great, that can also affect your performance and whether or not you get booked for the part. So you have to do good at both. Our goal when we're going to audition is to give our best performance. Give the best performance not at the end, not at the beginning, all the way through the whole process. So that's what we're going to be talking about and focusing on today. So when it comes to Netflix, Marvel, Disney, I've auditioned for all of them. There is no difference between the auditioning process. A lot of people think that it's different auditioning for a Marvel movie compared to auditioning for a Disney movie. There is no difference in terms of the auditioning process. It's not like for a Marvel movie you have to go in through a secret back door and then you give them 2 resumes instead of 1 and you have to do a special slate. There's nothing like that. That whole process that you go through for auditioning is the exact same for Marvel, for Disney, for Netflix. The type of shows you audition for or movies you audition for will be different. So you do have to adjust in that sense. So for a Marvel movie, you get to act one way. For a Disney movie, maybe you have to act a different way. You're a little bit more animated because that's the world that you're in. But the process of auditioning is no different from Marvel to Disney to Netflix or anything that you audition for. All of it is the exact same, the process that you go through. That means there are certain steps and things that you can do to help yourself better when you're going in your auditioning. Now, most people, when they teach these lessons, and you can find them either on YouTube or you go and take classes, they give you a surface level idea of what you have to deal with and how to work. The problem with that is that it's very general. And when you get general information, the best you can give is a general performance. So if you go to an acting class and you go and you pay $400 or $500 for this class, and they give you a general idea on how to audition, all you can do is give a general performance. That is the best that you can give. It's kind of like, I don't know, if you have your best friend, and they give you a general idea of how to make spaghetti. So you say, oh, okay, I have the general idea. Well, the spaghetti you're going to give to people is going to be a general dish of spaghetti. But if your grandmother teaches you how to make spaghetti, my grandma can make a pretty darn good spaghetti. If she teaches you how to make spaghetti, you're going to have a better than average spaghetti because it's not just, okay, here's the noodles, here's the sauce, boil it. There's a process that you have to go through. So depending on who you learn from, you get some better advice than others. So if you get just general advice, the best you can give is a general performance. I'm trying to give this information to you guys so you don't just have the general of what's going to happen and what you have to do. So to start us off here, the audition doesn't start when you walk in the room. The audition starts right when you get your scene. So right when your agent emails you and says, okay, here's the audition that you have set, here's the scene for you, right when you get the information, that's when your auditioning process starts. So the first thing that you have to do at the start is to just go through and get your lines all memorized. Memorize the heck out of those lines. Memorize them, memorize them, memorize them. I can't tell you how many auditions people don't memorize their lines. So you have to memorize. That's the very first thing. Because you can try and work at the character, but no matter how good you work at the character, if you can't memorize, you can't say the lines, it's not going to work out. Unless you're someone who likes to go and improv the lines a little bit more. Henry Winkler, that's something that he does. When he goes and he auditions, he improvs a lot of it. It depends on the person. Usually you don't want to do too much improving for the average audition because they want you to stay a little bit closer to the lines, especially nowadays. But it's up to you. Some people, they want to do a little bit more improving than others. So you have to have a general idea of what's going on with your lines, having those memorized. Then you have to know, okay, what's going on in the scene, but also what world are you in? Because the world really affects how you act and what you do. So if you're auditioning for a Disney movie, you might have to be a little bit more animated compared to if you're going to audition for something for Netflix that's very serious. Think of a movie or a show like 13 Reasons Why. The acting in 13 Reasons Why is different from the acting in Disney Channel. Now here's the thing. People always say the acting in Disney Channel is very bad. It's poor acting. They say it for Disney or they say it for Nickelodeon. A few years ago, I would have thought the same thing. I would say, yeah, it's not very good. But if you think about it, if you're from 13 Reasons Why, you bring your acting from 13 Reasons Why and put it in Disney Channel, you're going to seem very bland. You're going to seem very dull, like there's no life to you at all. That's because certain projects require a certain type of acting. So in Disney Channel, it doesn't necessarily mean you're a bad actor. It just means that you're able to adjust your acting to that style of acting. Now, a good actor can do both. If you're on 13 Reasons Why, you're pretty good if you can act, because you can act like a normal human being. But you're a better actor if you can do both. If you can do 13 Reasons Why, or you could transition to do something completely Disney. You're a better actor. So the Disney actor, if they're able to act on Disney and go to something really serious, and say the other actor couldn't do that from a serious type of show, well, the Disney actor, in terms of being an actor, would be better because they can transition from one project into the next. It gets very, dangerous when you stay in one field. But acting in Disney Channel doesn't mean you're a bad actor. Acting in something serious doesn't mean you're a great actor. Being a great actor, you're able to adjust. You're malleable. You're able to do different projects. So that first step is literally understanding what world you are in, because then you know how to act. So then if you are in something Disney and you have to go and you have to say hi to somebody, well, it might have to be over the top. You see somebody, you see him, you go, "Hi, how you doing? Hey, it's me." You're a little bit bigger compared to if you're in something a little bit more serious and you see somebody and you see him and you go, "Hey, how's it going?" And you're more like a regular person depending on the show. Sometimes it depends on the mood that's going on in the scene. If you're happy and everything's good in the scene, you might just go and say, "Hey, how's it going? How are you?" If you're not, you might go, "Hey, how's it going?" It depends on the mood. It depends on the project. There's a lot of different variables that go on. You as the actor, though, have to figure that out. And you get to figure that out once your agent, or maybe you self-submit for a project, and you get the scene. Once you get the sides, that's the scenes, once you get those, that's when the work instantly starts. So now you go through that whole process. Maybe you have 1 day to prepare, maybe it's 2 days, maybe it's more. The more you get, the better, because that means it's the more time you have. The more time you have to memorize, the more time you have to create your character. The more time to know what world you're in. Step number 2, this one's going to be really quick. Do the research that you have to do. Some people, some actors, require for them to do good work, they have to do a lot of research on a character. Sometimes actors don't have to do that much research at all. They look at the page, they're reading through, they say, "Okay, I know who this is. I know this character. I know my man. I can do this." It depends on the actor. Sometimes it depends on the project. Some actors may lean more towards having to do research or not having to do research, but it'll shift and change. Maybe one day you'll have to do a lot of research on a character because you don't know how someone like that would act. Maybe you have to play some scientist type of person and you're thinking, how would a scientist normally act compared to a rock star? Maybe rock stars you can naturally play, scientists you can't. You do a little bit more research on scientists. When you get a rock star role, maybe you don't have to do your research and you can just go and do it. Part of it, though, is you as the actor, you have to realize what you can do, what you can't do. What do you naturally lean towards a little bit more, and what don't you naturally lean towards more? That's the research part of it. You choose and you decide. You decide, do you need to do more research for a character? Do you not need to? That's when you get the scene and you decide and you see how is it going when you're working on it. Is it pretty easy to see the character in your head? Do you see who this person would be? Do you see yourself in this version of the scene that they're wanting? Do you see yourself in there or do you not? You have to decide whether or not how much research you need to put in. Okay, step number 3. Again, we're not in the room yet. There's a process to getting here. Step number 3, you're in the lobby. Okay, so you left plenty of time, you're in the lobby, you're in the waiting room. This is an opportunity where they can potentially see you if they're going back and forth, calling actors to come in. So you're in the waiting room and they call in, "Okay, Bobby, we're ready for you." They see you when you're out there. A lot of actors don't realize this. People see you no matter, if they're not calling you, they still see you. You're still present, you're still there. So if you're there and they're calling Bobby in and then they see you, and then you look like you're a nervous wreck and you're going through all your lines and you look like you're freaking out, it's going to paint an image in their head of who you are. And you may not, and you may be perfectly fine when you go into the room, but if you're nervous and you're kind of scared and fumbling around beforehand, that's going to be the image that they have of you when you come into the room. Now that image, it can change, you can shift it, but your goal is, if you can, just start off on a good foot each time they see you. Now, it's not always going to happen, and it's fine when it doesn't. Don't beat yourself up over it. But you have to realize, as an actor, as a performer, what you're trying to do is you're always trying to put your best foot forward every time a casting director sees you, a director sees you, other actors. You're always trying to put your best foot forward. So then, on the rare days that you don't, that's fine. But you're always working to put your best foot forward. So when you're in the waiting room, what you want to do is you want to just be comfortable. The best way to be comfortable is to literally, you can sit there, put headphones in your ears, and just listen to songs that you like. And, don't have it too loud where you can't hear them when they call you in, but just enough for you to be able to relax. Now, it doesn't have to be that. It could be anything. Maybe writing relaxes you. So bring a notepad and just start writing. That's fine. Maybe something relaxes you. Maybe playing a game on your phone relaxes you. Whatever relaxes you in that moment that you can do to ease your nerves a little bit, that's what you have to do. So now we've been leading up through this process, going through these different steps, and now we have step number 4. This step is when they finally see you and they call you in and they say, okay, we're ready. They're not, they're a little bit more polite than that. They're not more like, hey, okay, let's go. Come on in. They are polite when they walk out and they say, okay, they call your name and they bring you in the room. When you go into the room, this is the process now when they really get to see you. If you're in the waiting room, they see you for a split second, and it's still important how they perceive you in that moment because, as much as we don't like to judge a book by its cover, we do. So, when you're in the waiting room, you try to be as comfortable as possible. Then they call you in. They say, okay, come on in. When you come in the room, everybody always tells you, okay, when you go in, take ownership of the room. It's your room. You own it. That's very hard for a lot of people. That's very hard for a lot of actors. That puts a lot of pressure on you. And the idea of it is good. The idea of people saying, okay, go in and own the room, it's a perfect idea, but it's not the right wording for an actor, for a person, for anybody. Saying, okay, go in and you have a job interview, and someone says, okay, go in the room and go and own the room. You're going to go, how do I own the room? What do you mean, how do I own the room? I don't know how to own the room. It's much easier said than done. Next time a person tells you go and own the room, you say, no, you go in somewhere and you go and own the room. It's not an easy task because our idea of owning the room is different depending on each person. Some people think going in the room is not saying anything. Not saying anything, being very calm, owning it, it's your space. Some people think owning the room is going in and being the loudest person in the room. Saying, I'm confident, I'm loud, everybody can hear me. I don't care. So it depends on the person. But owning the room, it's very hard. It doesn't work for a lot of people at all. So I don't tell actors to go and own the room when you walk into the audition room. I mean, the idea of it, again, is not bad. Go and own the room. But a better phrase, a better use of wording, a better advice for all of you would not be go and own the room, but go and own yourself. Own yourself of who you are. Be comfortable with who you are. You as a person. What I mean by that is literally being you. Bringing yourself into the room. So it doesn't matter. You don't have to try and pretend to be anybody else. You just got to be you. When you're playing and you're acting and you're doing your character, maybe you're just a little bit more confident, depending on who your character is. Maybe you're a more confident version of yourself or more shy or whatever the scene is having you do, but it's still you. So when you walk into the room, bring yourself in the room. Don't try to walk. So many actors do this where they go in the room and they think, okay, I got to go and I got to be, the loudest person in the room. They got to hear me. People do this at parties all the time. You see people walk in and they try to be extra loud where it's too obnoxious. And that's how it comes across in the audition room. So actors will walk in and they'll be like, hey, how's it going? And they go, hey, how are you doing? I'm doing good. Yeah, that's great. Oh, yeah. No, I don't have any questions on any of this. Yeah, I'm ready. Like, they're talking like they're 20 feet away from it. And a lot of theater actors have this problem because they're used to trying to project to the back row, so they're not always used to having someone right in the front. I just had this audition the other day. It was a callback, and there was a few actors who were waiting. And this actor goes and walks in. He was about 3 or 4 people before me. And they call him in. They're like, okay, hey, I forget what his name was, but let's just pretend his name was Bobby. We'll use that again. Okay, Bobby, hey, we're ready for you. He comes in and he goes, hey, how's it going, guys? How are all of you? Yeah, I'm so excited. Yeah, I'm ready. Okay. Yeah, here we go. His voice went up. It went on like 2 octaves, and he was really trying, is what he was doing. He was trying too hard. He was trying to sell himself instead of just being him. If you would have saw this guy out in the lobby talking with people, He's not going, hey, yeah, I just had this other audition last week. He doesn't do any of that. He would talk like a normal person, and he would say, yeah, well, I had this audition last week that I was going to, and now I got this one this week, and he was acting like a normal person. But then when he had to go into the room, a different side of him came out that wasn't him. What you have to do is you have to be you. You have to bring yourself. James Mangold before, he said one of the biggest problems that he has with actors is that they're not themselves. He's like, I want an actor to be themselves. He says the best actors are the ones who can bring themselves to the work, not the ones who are trying to, be extra this or extra that or super confident or whatever. It has to be their version of confidence. People think, okay, confidence. They try to think of other people with confidence. So they think maybe, an example could be, Robert Downey Jr. His confidence for Tony Stark is very different than, say, in Grease and John Travolta's character. Both very confident characters, but very different. Everyone has a different idea of confidence, and they try to mimic other people's confidence. You shouldn't do that. You should have your version of confidence. So maybe when you go somewhere and you're confident, it doesn't mean you're the loudest person in the room. Your confidence may be just bringing yourself and not afraid to tell stories and not afraid to have opinions and not afraid to smile. Some people think that they have to over smile because they think, oh, confident people smile. Yeah, you should come in, you should be, generally happy when you walk into the room. You don't want to bring a negative energy. You want to be positive. Naturally, when people are more positive, they're smiling a little bit. They might have a little bit of a smile on their face, but it's not always a big smile when they're walking in going, hey, how are you guys? And then the smile never goes away because then that seems very fake. You just have to be you. So don't think about having ownership of the room. Don't worry about the room. The room will be what it is. The room will either be small, it'll be big, it'll smell, it'll be hot, it'll be cold. There will be a camera close to you, far away from you. There will be a lot of lights. There will be one light. It doesn't matter. The room is whatever the room is going to be. You, though, get to go and be yourself. Have ownership of the room. It takes a lot of pressure off of the actor if all I have to tell the actor is just go in and be yourself. Like, be myself. But what? I'm not enough. No, you are enough. If you go in, if all the auditions you ever have from now on, if you go in and you can be completely yourself, not having to worry about trying to impress them or putting them on this huge pedestal, the casting directors, the people auditioning you, then you can literally go and walk into the room and be yourself. Have a pure, it's going to be you. It's going to be your energy, your confidence, your positivity. You walk in, you will do far better at the auditions that you have, and you'll get far more callbacks and maybe get lucky enough to book one of those dream parts that you've always wanted. Your odds, your statistics go up that much more when you can really bring yourself into the room. If you can't, it's going to lower it because they can tell. I'll give one more example. You can tell in your life when people are fake. Maybe you've been in school before, you go to college or you take an acting class or whatever it may be. You can tell when people are fake. It's not a secret. This is one thing that people can kind of tell at some point in their life. Not everyone can tell when people are fake, but at some point in their life, they've interacted with someone they can tell, wow, this person's pretty darn fake. They're trying to be this, trying to be that. Casting directors can smell it. They see actors come in all the time. They can really tell when somebody is trying too hard. There was one more audition I'll tell you that I had. And there was this girl, and she went inside. She signed in. There was someone at the desk. They said, "Oh, okay. We're backed up a little bit. It's going to be a little bit, more time till you have to audition. It might be another 15, 20 minutes." They said, "But you're welcome to hang out outside and everything. Just watch out if you have any snacks or food while you're outside, because the squirrels, they like to come and eat some of the food." So then she's like, "Oh my gosh." She's like, I love squirrels. Okay, yeah, I'll make sure that they don't eat my food. Okay. It was very try hard. I don't know how many people you've ever interacted with who have just, you tell them, hey, just be careful of squirrels, and go, oh my gosh, I love squirrels. Usually, someone's going to say, oh, okay, thank you very much. I'll keep that in mind. You don't have to try. You get to be yourself. So don't worry about taking ownership of the room. Worry about taking ownership of yourself. Tip number 5 is to be polite. This is something that people think would be very obvious for others, but it's not. When you go into the audition room, don't think that you have to be arrogant or rude. Just really be polite, and be polite throughout the entire process. Even the process of when you're going and you're signing in. be polite, because you never know who is there, who you're talking to, other actors in the room. You may talk with one actor, and if you're rude to that actor, you don't know that actor could have interacted with these casting directors several times, and they could be talking, and they're going, "Hey, how are you doing? Sorry we had to keep you waiting." And maybe the actor's there, and he's like, "Yeah, and I can't believe it. There's this guy out there. He's one of the rudest actors I've ever met." That's gonna have an effect on you. If you go and you're signing in, and the person at the desk, if there's someone at the desk when you're signing in, and you're rude to them, those people usually interact with the casting directors at some point of time. They go, "Hey, how's everybody coming in? Is everything working out all right?" Well, that person might say, "Yeah, everything's good, but there was this one actor that came in." They go through the names. Oh, let's see. Oh, it was Bobby came in, and but man, Bobby's just in the ringer today. They say, "Yeah, Bobby came in, and he was very rude." That's going to have an effect, because they don't want somebody who's going to be working on set to be rude, because they have tons of actors who are auditioning for different projects, TV shows, movies, all these things. If they have a choice between hiring Bobby for a TV show, who's a rude actor, or someone else who's nice and kind and polite and they can do the job, they're going to hire that person, and they're going to let Bobby just walk the other way. There's no way they're going to consider him. So it's a general note, but really be polite. A lot of people don't realize this is what they have to do. Be polite, and be polite to everybody. It doesn't mean you have to be a chatty box and feel like you have to chat with everyone and buy presents and do all these things, but you just have to go and be polite. Again, it's kind of being yourself on a positive, best day of yourself, best version of yourself, but be polite. Don't be rude. So tip number 6 now, this is going to be talking about the very end. So, we've talked about all the parts leading up to the audition, then you've done the whole little acting bit. The acting part really comes down to, your skills as an actor. You either build those skills from this channel, my 10-hour acting masterclass, or other classes you take, whatever it may be, you may have the acting skills that you want. You go through that whole acting bit. But in terms of the auditioning process, now we've made it towards the end. What you want to make sure that you don't do is you have your last line of the whole scene, and let's say your line is, um, uh, okay, bye. That's your last line. Okay, bye. It doesn't matter what it is. You have your last line, you go, okay, bye. Don't just go, so the casting director is right here. Don't go, okay, bye. And then all of a sudden you're out of the scene, and then you're looking at the camera person, or you're going to ask whatever. Don't end it right away. So your last line is, okay, bye. Stay in it. So you're here and you see the person until either the camera, you'll hear it because they have a little button, you hear the camera stops recording, or the casting director says something. Usually what they might just say is, okay, great. No, that was perfect. We liked it. That's the general thing that most actors will get. Sometimes they're asking more questions afterwards, saying, oh, okay, that was great. They said, okay, where are you from? Maybe they'll talk with you a little bit. Or maybe they'll say, hey, can we redo this scene? None of it's good, none of it's bad. Some actors think, oh, okay, it's perfect if they go and they ask me to tell me about myself. It's a good sign. It's not bad, but actors all the time get called in, whether or not they've, at the end, had to tell a story, whether or not they had to redo a scene, whether or not they just said, okay, that was great, thank you. I've gotten called back for all those versions. So it's not one is special. It's not like, okay, every callback that any actor ever gets is always when the casting director says, hey, let's redo a scene. It's not like that. It just depends on the casting director. Sometimes they don't have a lot of time. They have a lot of people to get through. If you're at the very beginning of the day, maybe they have a little bit more time to talk to you. Maybe if you're at the very end, they want to say, okay, that was great. Let's just go through and, get to the next person. So it just depends on how the day's working out and how everything's going. What you want to first do is just make sure that you don't just end right away. You wait till they say something, you wait till the camera ends, because otherwise on camera they're going to get that. Because when they see you, if they like you, they're going to send the tape off to the director to see if you get a call back. And then when the director's watching it, they may think, oh, that's great, and then all of a sudden you snapped out of it. It's just a negative stepping stone that you just laid for yourself. It may not affect it, or it may affect it, you never know. You just want to always have your best audition possible. Now, you're here, the audition just ended, so you say, okay, that was great. Don't start to try and maintain the conversation after that. Don't try and say, oh, okay, great. Don't ask them a question and say, oh, so what did you think about that? Do you think I'm going to get a call back? Never ask that. Avoid that at all costs. If they say, okay, great, just be polite, say thank you very much, and then walk out. You're taking ownership of yourself. You're not trying to be there and force yourself on them and say, oh, okay, hey, thank you so much. No, it was great, and you try to tell them this whole story. They don't want to hear it. You can fill out the room a little bit. If they're asking you questions, then they want you to talk. They want you to interact. They want to know a little bit more about you. But if they're not asking you and they're just saying, okay, hey, great, thank you, you can go. You don't have to worry about staying in there a little bit longer. Oh, is it okay to go? Is it not okay to go? If they say, hey, that was great, thank you, they're saying, okay, that was great. We're done. We'll let you know if we want you. That's basically how it works. So make sure in the end you don't end too quickly. So you're not like, okay, bye, okay, and then now you're out of it and you're looking around and talking to people. You don't want to do that. You want to stay in it towards the very end. And then in the end, they might say, okay, thank you, that was great, and you can go. They may ask you a question, then you can stay, you can talk about it. Or they may just ask you to redo a scene, and that's okay too. It doesn't mean your acting was bad, it just means maybe they want to see if you can do it a different way. They want to see how malleable are you? Can you shift? Can you adjust? Can you take direction? Or maybe they like your look, they think you might be perfect for the project, your personality seems great, except maybe they didn't like the acting, so they want to give you another shot. It could be. Again, it all depends on the casting director. It all depends on a lot of different factors. This is the process that you have to go through from start to the end of your audition. I hate when people give the general wash and they say, okay, well, you're going to go and you're going to show up to your audition. You're going to try and give your best work possible and you're going to be really kind. That's a general wash of what people usually say. No, there are different stepping stones that can help you. Now, look, if one doesn't help you at all and you're like, I don't want to be, think about being polite. I'm going to think about being happy. Think about being happy if that works for you. The thing is, every actor gets to decide their own way, their own process of how they work. And I tell actors all the time, I'm like, hey, everything that I've built, I've tested not on myself, but on other people. So I know, okay, it works for me, but it also works for others. If something doesn't specifically work for you, if you're, out of 20 people, you're one of those 20 people, and you're like, this specific idea doesn't work for me, thinking about being polite. Maybe it makes you a little bit too timid, and you're better thinking about it being happy. Then, okay, you can change it. You have that ability to think, okay, for you then, be happy. I don't care. If you tell me and you say, oh, I'm sorry, I don't think about being polite, I think about being happy. I don't care. If it works for you, it works for you. Use what works for you. That's the ultimate goal. Everything I give you is to help you. So if something else works for you a little bit differently, then use that. That's what you have to do. Now, if you guys are all interested, I do have the 10-hour acting masterclass. I'll leave that down in the description below, also in the comment section. And there's a little bit more in-depth talking about the whole auditioning process if you want to know. Also, the acting part of it. Again, it's a 10-hour, full-long acting masterclass for the people of everything that I've learned, from people who have gone to Juilliard, Harvard, Yale, RADA, ACT, what I've learned being in the business and working with people who have been in movies, not in movies, off-Broadway, on Broadway, people who have not been in the movies, they've done plays, it doesn't matter. It's been everything. So if you guys are interested in the 10-hour acting masterclass, again, I'll leave it down in the description below and in the comments. All right, see you guys. Thank you. Bye-bye.